Now for the Chapter 7, Lesson 6 vocab, we just have one term, which is the FOIL method. And this is when you're going to be multiplying polynomials. You're going to need to use the FOIL method, which is you're going to multiply each first term. So something like this. You'll have x plus b times y plus c or something. And you're going to have to multiply these first terms. And then you're going to multiply the outside terms. The inside terms, b and y, and the last terms, b and c. And these are all multiplied and added together. Now in example 1, we need to solve these two polynomials here using FOIL, which is first term for f, outside term for o, inside term for I, and last term for l. So you're going to start by multiplying the first terms, f, so x and x, which is going to be x squared. Outside terms, so 7 and x, so plus 7 times x. Negative 5 and x inside terms, minus 5x. And last terms, negative 5 times positive 37, minus 35. Next, you're going to combine like terms here, so bring down the x squared. And now these two are like terms, and it's going to be 7x minus 5x, which equals 2x. And then bring down the negative 35. So your FOIL method worked for the right answer. Okay, so in example 2 here, we need to find the area of this trapezoid here with the three polynomials they give us. And the area of the trapezoid is 1/2 the height times the sum of base 1 plus base 2. So now we need to figure out what variables we're going to input for each polynomial. So this line here means this is the height. So this is h. So we can start writing our equation. 1/2 times x plus 2 times, and now we need to figure out base 1 and base 2. So there's only 2 left, and bases are the same thing, so we'll call this base 1 and this one base 2. So 3x minus 7 plus 2x plus 1. And your next step, you're going to add these polynomials here. So 3x plus 2x is going to equal 5x. And then negative 7 plus 1 is going to equal negative 6. So you're left with this polynomial after adding those two. And write down the rest of the equation. So next you're going to use the FOIL method and FOIL these two. So bring down your 1/2. And now multiply 5 times 1, which is going to be 5. And then x times x is going to be x squared. The outside terms next. So negative 6x minus 6x. And 2 times 5 is going to be 10x, so plus 10x. And the last terms, here and here, so negative 6 times 2 is going to equal negative 12. Next, you're going to combine like terms here, so bring down your 1/2. 5x squared, because there's no other x squareds anywhere. You have 2 x's here, so you're going to combine those two to get positive 4x, because negative 6 plus 10 equals a positive 4. And you don't have no x terms, so that's you just bring down the negative 12. Next, you need to distribute this 1/2. So by using the distribute property, you're distributing it to each term here, all 3 of them. So 1/2 times 5x squared is going to equal 3 over 2x, or 5 over 2x squared, excuse me. 5 over 2x squared, and then 1/2 times 4 is the same as 1/2, or 4 divided by 2, which is going to be 2x, so plus 2x, and 1/2 times negative 12, or negative 12 divided by 2 is going to equal negative 6. So the area of the trapezoid equals 5 over 2x squared plus 2x minus 6. Okay, so in example 3, now we have a trinomial here and a polynomial here. So what we need to do is we need to distribute this binomial to each term. But you notice you can't just distribute one number, you have to distribute both of these terms here. So you're going to write it out as 4x times 2x squared minus 5x plus 3, and then plus 9 times 2x squared minus 5x plus 3. So basically you're just splitting up this binomial here and multiplying them both by the same equation. So by using the distributive property, you're just going to distribute each of these to each term here. So 4x times 2x squared is going to equal 8x cubed because you add these. So 1 plus 2 equals 3, so 8x cubed. 4 times negative 5 is going to be negative 20x squared, because again you're adding the x's for an exponent. And then positive 4 times positive 3 is going to equal 12, and bring down just one x because 3 doesn't have any x. That's positive. Next you're going to distribute this here, so bring down that positive, and then distribute to each term again. And 9 times 2x squared is going to equal 18x squared because 9 doesn't have any x's, so you're going to have the same numbers here. Next, you're going to distribute it to the 5, so negative and a positive is going to equal negative 45x. And last term, plus 27 because 9 times 3, which is the last term. Now you're going to combine any like terms that you have here. So first, 8x cubed. We don't have any, so just bring down the 8x cubed. Next, negative 20x squared. Do we see any x squared? Yes, we have one right here. So now we're going to do negative 20 plus positive 18, which is going to be a negative 2 because you're subtracting. So negative 2x squared. So these are canceled. These are done. Next, you have 12x. An x, an x. Good. So you're going to do positive 12, negative 45 plus 12, which is going to equal negative 33. Negative 33, bring down the x. Now, these are done, and your last term is just plus 27 here. So your final answer is 8x cubed minus 2x squared minus 33x plus 27. Okay, so in the second example, for example 3b, we have a trinomial here and a trinomial here. So what we need to do is, again, we're going to split it up into 3 separate parts of this whole expression here. So y squared is going to be one term multiplied by this equation here, 6y squared minus 3y plus 1 times plus negative 2y times 6y squared minus 3y plus 1. And the last term, 5 plus 5 times 6, I'm going to rewrite it down here, plus 5y, or plus 5 times 6y squared minus 3y plus 1. Okay, so next you're going to use the distributive property for each of these three parts of this expression. So distribute the y squared to all 3 terms. So y squared, 1y squared times 6y squared is going to equal 6y to the 4th, because you're adding both of these, 2 and 2, minus y to the y squared minus 3y is going to equal negative 3y squared, because, or 3y cubed, excuse me, because you're adding 2 plus 1. And lastly, you have a y squared times 1, which is just going to be y squared. Next, you're going to distribute this negative 2y. So negative 2y times 6y squared is going to equal negative 12y to the 4th, or y cubed, because 1 plus 2. And then to this term here, negative 2y times negative 3y is going to be plus 6y squared, because you have 2 y's. And lastly, negative 2y times 1 is going to be negative 2y, because anything times 1 is the other. And now you're going to distribute this one to all 3 terms. So now you're going to have plus 30y squared, because this one has no y's, minus 15y, because 3 times 5 is 15, and yeah, there's no y's again, and 1 times 5 is 5, so bring down that, plus 5. So now you need to combine like terms, any like terms that you have. So 6y to the 4th, do we see any other y fourths here? No. So we can just bring 6 y to the fourth down already. Now negative 3y cubed. Is there any other cubes? Here. So cross this one out because we've already used it. So negative 3y minus 12y cubed is you're going to combine those together to get negative 15y cubed. Next, you're going to look for any y squared. And so, do you see any other y squareds? Here, and here, and here. So, 1y plus 6y is going to be 7y, plus 30y squared is going to be 37y squared. So, plus 37y squared. So, cancel these out now. And now you look for any y's. So, negative 2y and negative 15y. So, you're going to combine those to get negative 17y, because you're adding those because they're both negative, and you just bring down the plus 5. So this is your final answer. 6y to the fourth minus 15y cubed plus 37y squared minus 17y plus 5.